What is up, my fellow Titans? Welcome to what feels very weird to say is a Season 3 finale review, recap, and breakdown. And it's crazy. It really is. I think it's been made to feel a lot quicker considering we had those first 3 episodes drop on one day. So we are finishing up a little bit early this year in terms of just consuming it week to week. But yeah, this finale, there's things, as you guys know, in general, if you've been watching my reviews week to week, I think Season 3 started off very strong. I think everyone's opinion, for the majority at least, really enjoyed those first 5 episodes, or at least a majority of them. And then it kind of dipped a little bit. There's things in the story which, you know, I love so much with Season 3. But as it progressively went along, I found a few bumps in the road when it came to writing, or just like the execution of the things they set up. So throughout, as we went along the road up until this finale, there were still things I was really a big fan of. Like, honestly, I want to be as candid as I can in these reviews. I don't want to bullshit. I call things out if I have issues, and I defend where I can, you know? And this episode, when it comes to the finale, to me is most certainly better than last year's. I think that is definitely a thing. But it did come across very, very fast-paced. I'm not sure if I'm a massive fan of the story beats of where we've got to, just in general. There's a lot of things that felt like, you know, were left on the cutting room floor, and we'll get to that just in the writing sense. As much as I'm a fan of things in this show, there's also things that quite perplex me a bit. So, same thing with this finale. Bits that I really enjoyed, bits that were a bit like, okay, but then like I feel like they did wrap it up in the best way that they could, setting up the next season for sure, even teasers for Roy Harper and things, Tim Drake coming on board. Before I ramble too much more, let's get into the details of this. Thank you guys for sticking around with the reviews for as long as you have. I'm glad that you've been enjoying the longer videos. I know I make quite longer videos than other people, but it's nice to know that, you know, we found a little community that we can all nerd out and get in depth with this stuff. So yeah, I just really appreciate your support. Give this video one last like, you know, for the Titans reviews. Obviously, subscribe if you want to stay up to date with this show, because it has been renewed for Season 4 at DC Fandom. That was announced, so I will be covering it on the channel and everything good like that. So right at the beginning, yeah, I'm sorry to start off on a bit of a negative note, but this is honestly just from a fan perspective, and I really want to pick the brain of one of the writers, or like the showrunner, because I don't understand what he's trying to do here with like the pieces that are being picked up. Because let me put it this way, jump to the end of the episode, one has to assume that Bruce is going to continue to be Batman, because he's back, the Titans are leaving Gotham, you know, I'm guessing he's going to be Batman again, because Gotham needs its protectors still, I guess. So, you know, the fact that this episode picks up with armored GCPD and Wayne Manor, tons of them, just arming themselves, you know, just scrapping everything, brushing the chessboard pieces off. Do you know what I'm going to get to? Like, as of when the threat of Gotham is over, the Batman is back in town, Bruce is in Wayne Manor. How many staff members of the GCPD know about Batman, the Wayne Manor, the Batcave there? How many of them have texted their friends, their girlfriends, their wives, their husbands? Do you see where I'm going with this? It just, to put it bluntly, I am not a big fan, and I really, this is why I said I want to pick the brain of the showrunner, because it's like, with this decision, how do you overlook that you know that you've just exposed Batman's identity, the Batcave, everything to do with his operations, that should have been so securely kept with Scarecrow. The second it left Scarecrow and Jason, or, you know, from Crane Manor, and it went to cops, it's just already like, you know, shit hit the fan. Because now, it's a like, there's no way I can suspend my disbelief that you just had, I don't know, like whole squads and squads and squads of officers find out about this place. I guess I can't really complain about this anymore, otherwise I'm just going to go round in circles and circles. But that is something I really, really dislike, because at the end of the day, the outcome is, and what the audience have to play with, is that we know there are multiple, dozens of cops who were there, who are still around in Gotham City, who may be punished because of the bullshit they did with Barbara and everything like that, and working for Crane. It doesn't really matter. As I said, they're going to text people, told people. Now, Titans writers, with all due respect, you've left Gotham City in the mind of the audience and me with everyone knowing about the Batman. How else do you expect me to take it? Because that's how you wrote it. Like, so many cops know about it, so that kind of stuff would get out. I know that was a bit of a rant, but moving on, Scarecrow tells his GCPD dirty cop guy that the GCPD could have Barbara Gordon, which then led to that scene where V was being held at gunpoint to the elevator, and then when the elevator arrived in the Oracle room, it turns out all of them were taken out, and that is because it is revealed that V this whole time was an Argus operative, which is, I think that's a cool twist. It turns out that the Argus operatives and agents have secured this main GCPD building / precinct, but obviously there's plenty of rogue units out there in Gotham City, and she reveals that obviously she doesn't really work for the GCPD, it is indeed Argus, to monitor the suspicious super activity after Ra's al Ghul set up a Lazarus pit somewhere in Gotham as a first step to one of his larger plans, which is interesting. It just makes you think, oh, what was Ra's al Ghul gonna do? Did he just want like a backup in Gotham? Was it a part of his larger plan to maybe take it over and not let Bruce get in his way? And if he did, well, at least he has a pit to fall back to. I don't really know. That's all fun headcanon speculation. And Barbara even says Argus, as in like Roy Harper Argus. And that's when V responds the one and only, and he sends his regards. So it seems that in the Titans universe, Roy Harper has got a bit of a storyline going with Argus, which is super, super, super interesting. And I wonder, one only can wonder, to be honest, if they're trying to foreshadow and set up Roy Harper. Now, on my review copy, I have absolutely no idea if they put a post-credit scene on the actual HBO Max, copy, but as of, I was thinking in the credits, maybe they would have shown it, and all I'm going to say here is, look, it's all well and fine teasing Roy Harper, but you've done it for a while now, like last season as well. I feel like if you keep teasing him, you should bring him in the show at some point, especially as there's a few spaces available now. So yeah, I don't really know what to make of that in terms of just like, it feels futile if I go too deep into it. All we know is that they've teased Roy Harper. With all of this heavy Argus stuff in this last episode, it really did feel like they were trying to springboard something into next season, but I would love to know your thoughts and just theories with that. Meanwhile, with Donna Troy and the Drake family, we have them still taking bullets behind that car door, and in this moment as well, we had Tim Drake do a little flying jump kick, which was awesome, and he learned that from YouTube. It just, some people may find that ridiculous or unbelievable, but for me, it's a part of the charm of the character. It's part of his drive and perseverance to really want to be Robin. So, he's already put together the identities, just like the comics, and as we later learn, even he found out the identity of Catwoman, and that came in helpful with the security system. So it makes sense to me that he's had drive to try and train himself in the basic kick. And just as Donna is about to deal with the cops, because I was thinking, like, you have super speed, so you could just go boink, 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 boink. That is when Raven arrives and Gar arrives in badass fashion. Like, Raven just walks through them, like, as if it's zero issues. I did find it a little bit hard to believe that Tim's family, after last week, were just like, no, 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 and now, like, they're now like, nope, Gotham needs you. You need to stay. You need to help out. I mean, it is nice. Maybe they just understand that after his drive here and how he's helping Donna, that maybe he is destined to be here. It just feels like a bit, this is what I mean with how quick things were going in this episode. Didn't feel as organic as it could have been with realizing that their son should maybe go and be a Robin maybe, whereas last episode they're being pretty understandably protective, but, maybe that's a bit of a nitpick, but I feel like maybe that is just a consequence of the fast pacing of everything they needed to get through in this finale. Things like this tend to just happen sometimes. Up next, though, we pick up with the ship that exploded because of Superboy, and this took an interesting turn, but it's something that I do kind of understand, or I believe, for the character, and how Blackfire wasn't pissed. Starfire was insanely pissed. Blackfire says that she doesn't blame him because, he acted selfishly, and she would have done the same thing because they're very similar people. So that's what I mean. I understand, like, these two characters connected because they are somewhat, kindred spirits in a way, with relating to one another with the ways we've seen in prior episodes. So she probably would have done a similar thing if he was trying to fly away back to Krypton or something like that. Not that he could do that, but yeah. This is what I mean about the jumping. So that scene then cuts and we go to Red Hood and Dick Grayson, who are more or less trying to figure things out and, talk about the poem. The plan is also to find the Titans and stop the bombs from going off and trying to isolate the clues in the poem. But he does tell Red Hood to get out the car because obviously, bringing him back to the Titans will start a war I mean, I don't know if I believe that so much. It would have caused a bit of an argument. Realistically, it would have wasted time in arguments when they're meant to be finding the bombs. I don't know about a war, though, but it probably was for the best for him to get out the car. And Jason understands. Now, in terms of my thoughts of, like, how they've wrapped up the arcs, the stories, I might do, like, a Titans Season 3 overall review to, like, say, what did I think so much about, like, how they concluded Red Hood's arc. Can he be redeemed, or was he redeemed? Like, what happened? I think that's probably best served in another video for me to talk about my overall thoughts on that. In this moment, Barbara reaches out to Dick, and basically, this is kind of handy with Argus. You can see why they did this, because it also shortcuts their way to locate all the Titans through the Argus satellite, and that way they can all rendezvous in that building that they were in a little bit later on. So Dick doesn't have to go around Gotham finding them ever since they scattered off. It was kind of just already done for them. Very handy that Argus is here. Around about this time as well, we have Crane contact Dick, being a bit flexy with the bombs and stuff, and that's when a bomb went off around about where the Titans signal was, I think. That was a super cool shot. I just remember Dick getting out the car, seeing the bomb destruction in Gotham. It just reminded me of, this is such a quintessential Gotham thing. And I loved how Scarecrow was like walking throughout the streets as well. This was a confusing thing as well. I'm pretty sure he was meant to be using fear toxin, right? And isn't fear toxin meant to, like, I mean, I think we all know what fear toxin does. It can send you crazy, like bring about your fears to reality and stuff, but I'm guessing this was just a lethal fear toxin, you know, like that just killed people straight away. And it did. It killed from 500 up to 2,000 people, which is where we get to that latter half of the episode with the resurrections and stuff. And yeah, this is where I start to have a bit of a mixed feelings approach to it. With regards to Scarecrow, he was wearing a gas mask, and it's like he put some cloth over it and just try to emulate a kind of Scarecrow staples and stitchings to it. My only comment on that is, like, if you're gonna wear a gas mask and do that to emulate a Scarecrow look, why not just put your freaking Scarecrow mask on? A lot of us wanted you to wear that. It seemed to have some kind of filtration system in it anyway, because of, you know, using the fear toxin back in the day. So it's a shame that they couldn't use that. But this picks up next with Dick going around in a little base of operations, and I really like this moment because, you know, we just had him asking if people on task, you know, this Titans activity, figuring out shit, just felt like what we should have got quite a lot throughout the season. And this is why those first few episodes were really cool to a lot of people, because there was a lot of this scene earlier on in the season until it kind of had that like interlude period where everyone started to question how good this season was compared to the beginning part, if you know what I mean. And it felt like we were back to that. And that was just really cool, you know, seeing the Nightwing leadership skills here. But it just felt like we lost that for some time, and now we're back again. This is where they start to come up with a bit of a contingency for what happens if the bombs do go off. We need a plan to save these people. And that's when the most kind of comic booky elaborate plan comes out, which is where my mixed feelings comes in, because I both like the scope of what the Titans came up with in order to save the city. It does feel like quite a comic book or like a Titans animation movie or episode thing to do. But I just don't know about... it's just the Lazarus pit in general. I feel like it's been a bit abused in this season. Like, it's not the... I suppose it's just not what I would have done with it, I suppose. I keep saying I suppose, but do you guys suppose? It's going to be interesting to see everyone's comments to this, because I suppose it's just a concept that I have. There's nothing technically wrong with the execution other than, I suppose, it was very fluky in how everything happened to go according to plan when it was their, like, first attempt. Like, other than that, like... I think it's just a preference thing, whether you kind of like what they did with the Lazarus Pit compared to people like me, maybe, who just, I feel like the Lazarus Pits should have only have ever been used with Jason. It started to go wrong as soon as Nightwing was put in there, and now you freaking, like, resurrected up to 2,000 people in Gotham with Lazarus Pit Reign? I don't know about that. But that, as I said, I think that's more subjective than just critical. I felt like they brushed over the Superboy thing with Dick Grayson. So Dick does apologize, but Superboy says you did what you had to do. I know what that's like, because obviously he did what he had to do with Blackfire. So I get what they were going for there, but they're completely skipping over the issue that I believe Connor did have at the beginning. And that's what a lot of fans have, in how Dick Grayson had a character regression, more or less, to go about and do it all by himself again when he could have brought Superboy with him. And, like, all the fans are saying it just doesn't really add up. Why wouldn't you bring Superboy with you? So do you see what I mean? I get what they were going for, but I think it just felt brushed over. In this moment, Dick was just like, scrap finding the bombs. This is probably what Scarecrow wants us to do. Run around like headless chickens, finding the clues and the bombs and whatever. So let's actually do something Batman would never do. And you can obviously see the approach here. Like, this is something they've thematically been doing for a while with Dick. Like, be better than our parents. Be better than Batman and Jim Gordon, because we're going to do what they did, but in a new, innovative way. Like, correct the course that our fathers set, rather than follow in the same path or course. Weird analogies of the Boba. And so, as he says, we're going to do something Batman would never do, and that is go to Wayne Manor. And it's just like, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. A lot of fans have pointed out you could have done this the whole season. You have Starfire, you have Superboy who could punch through. This is where holes start to appear a little bit. Like, I'm not trying to be that guy, it's just, it is true. Like, Crane and Jason were there like episodes ago, and you could have pushed your way in and just stopped it all there and then. And so this comes to the point of the Wayne Manor infiltration, if you will. So we had Dick wanting Gar to turn into a bat, and that was his way in, obviously. That way we can hopefully get Barbara connected to the whole Wayne Manor network. We have the GCPD catching Red Hood, trying to get in, but that was all a part of the plan. Unless I'm missing something, I did feel like something was missing, because I'm pretty sure Dick told Jason to meet up with him like 3 hours later or something, and that maybe that scene was cut, because how did Red Hood have the plan to do this and go in and distract them? It was absolutely hilarious where Gar just flew into the freaking window and that little squeak came out, but he made his way in, the window opened, which set off the alarms. That's when Jason was pulling out these badass moves. I really did like Jason's combat moves with the GCPD officers as he was trying to hold off Gar, entering the passwords, disabling the alarms, and then entering the other password. All of that was badass, and we even got that little moment finally between Gar and Jason where they actually met, and he had to prove by shooting that other cop that he isn't there to like stop him, he's there to help him. I did feel like this moment was a bit like, this is probably nitpicky, but entering the passwords, it's just like when Gar entered in Riddler. How do you know that it wouldn't have been the Riddler? Or when it came to Selina, why did he put in Selina Kyle? Because beforehand his attempts were just Joker and Riddler, not the Joker, not the Riddler. So why wasn't the password just Selina? Why was it Selina Kyle? Like, these are nitpicks, but I'm just saying, in a realistic scenario, if you wanted to present things this way, that password might not have worked because he put a space and a Kyle in, whereas it could have just been Selina. And this is where Crane sent up more. I put emphasis on that because there's more guards. They're not even guards. They're GCPD officers. These are citizens, basically, outside uniform, who get sent up from the Batcave to stop them even more. So, like, all I'm trying to point out here is the massive amount of people who know that Batman is Batman, Bruce is Batman, after this episode is over. I know I'm retreading points of the beginning of this video, but that one really drives me up the wall. And this led to a great scene with Nightwing up until a certain moment. Like I know this may be like nitpick heaven at this point, but it's just like, you can point out nitpicks, but when they become in an abundance, that's when it becomes an issue. Do you see what I'm saying there? So, like, some of you may be like, oh, shut the F up when it comes to me nitpicking the password thing, but then there's, like, another moment like this. So that combat with Nightwing was incredible. Dropped down, took down the freaking armed police, and he even turned his Eskrima sticks into a staff. That was incredible, because obviously, with Robin, we saw him use the staff quite a lot, but then you got to that moment with the dirty cop guy, who literally had him dead to rights. He had the gun on him, and then in the whole of that time, he managed to turn around and throw a wingding to stop him. It's just one of those situations where, like, what are you waiting for? Just shoot him. Shoot him. But no, of course not, because it's... Look, here you could be like, but it's just a TV show. I get those comments, but my reply to that is, okay, so like the TV shows aren't open to critique, or like moments that seem really contrived. Do you see what I mean? It's always subjective with people's standards when reviewing or breaking things down like this. But moments like this, I'm not as harsh on moments like this always, but when you hold the laser on the back of the head for that long, and he turned around, and like, this guy was gonna kill him. But no, like, do you see what I mean? That's rubbing it in my face too much. It was such a cool scene up until that moment, where it's just a bit like, okay, if he was the Flash, then maybe, but other than that, Nightwing probably should have died in this moment. The way I would have gone about it differently, well, that's just simple. Don't set it up in the way that scene ended, because it makes it, like, painfully, like, why? Like, everyone's shouting at the screen. Not that we want Nightwing to die, but it's like, what are you doing? But what I will tell you is I loved Nightwing just looking at Scarecrow in the camera. This was awesome, and just smiling. There we go. There's the Nightwing we had in the first 3 or 4 episodes of this season, if you guys remember. Where's that guy? Where's that guy been? What's happened? In this moment, they're about to go down to the Batcave, that is, until Jason says that he's not going to go with them, because just going against him was enough of an FU for him, and that those guys should finish it. I don't know how to feel about that. I mean, I both get it, but I'm just wondering what it would have been like if Jason went in there. I think it would have been a bit more of a fuck you to Crane, to be honest, because it shows that through everything, understandably, he's not a Titan, but he's, like, standing side by side with Nightwing again. I think that would have just been a bit more in Crane's face. But other than that, I do find it interesting how Tim Drake, this is super interesting, he arrived on the scene right after Jason left. I wonder why that is. Maybe some of you could say, like, it's because, obviously, he was somewhat responsible for his family getting attacked that one time. But I don't know, it just feels like, you know, I know they did see each other when he got shot, and that's when he went running back to Crane, but, like, it's just interesting. They definitely avoided that. I love how Tim was just freaking out, though, because he's in Wayne Manor. Like, he saw the Batcave door, like, the clock open. Like, he's like, this is everything I thought, maybe, and now I'm seeing it, and so he's just freaking out. They go down to the Batcave. This was a good, heroic confrontation scene. Like, it felt truly something like out of a comic book, you know, with Nightwing there just like rubbing it in Scarecrow's face, and even like giving Tim Drake the floor, you know, saying it's overcrowded, and he goes up to Crane, he's like, it's almost like that Batman trailer moment. Who the hell are you supposed to be? Imagine if Tim Drake just pulled out the Robert Pattinson, like, boom, 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 boom. But no, like, it was a good moment for Tim Drake, because my name is Tim Drake, and you tried to kill my family, you failed, and he just, yeah, knocks him out and says, you know, that's for Gotham, bitch. But let's cut to the ladies and the Lazarus Pit. So they all go to the Lazarus Pit, and Rachel says that I don't know how, maybe she read the journal, maybe Gar told her this, but she says that it absorbs the worst fears and nightmares of anyone who's ever been in it. And they acknowledge that it's extremely dark magic. Too dark for you, Rachel? And she's like, no, I've got pretty dark magic. And so Blackfire uses her newfound powers, along with Raven, and also Starfire. I guess somehow, like, she's whammying some of her, and they have hinted that obviously she's got some kind of thing of her own, and that's how it gave her this vision and her Orby kind of powers, which, you know, that's a cool setup for her journey next season, just a little tangent there. But this was all a bit, like, I will admit, it was quite contrived in terms of, like, it all just happened to work out with the little bubble form they were doing, and now Raven was taking all the bleak black nightmare fuel out of the Lazarus Pit waters. It's kind of like filtering something and just like getting the drops of the pure essence left behind. So I think what they were doing here is just taking the nightmare fuel out of the Lazarus Pit waters, and so that the rain that would come down was just the pure healing effects from the Lazarus Pit, rather than, you know, because I was thinking, like, does this mean that everyone who came back had to go through, like, a nightmare kind of situation like Dick Grayson did? And, you know, Rachel said that you have to fight to come back, so it's just like, do you know what I mean? It's just a bit... And also, I'm just not really a big fan of how the Lazarus Pit has been treated. I'm not going to repeat myself from earlier. It's just, well, while I found this kind of a cool, like, big scale plan, it also felt like this could easily not work, and then what are you going to do to bring back 2,000 people? I suppose that they would have succeeded in beating Crane, but maybe they just wouldn't have brought back 500 to 2,000 people. Maybe it just would have ended that way. And so this is when the little blob is launched into the sky. I don't know why the little bubble makes me laugh. And it creates a storm. Superboy is freezing things. In this moment, I don't know if I'm a fan of this. I'm honestly trying hard to not be negative here. It's just like, you know, when Starfire's like, you're gonna get yourself killed again. And that's when Donna was like, you know what they say about lightning? She tosses her lasso into the storm, so I'm guessing that she can anchor all of the lightning channeling down here, so that the lightning doesn't, like, destroy Gotham City. And so she's channeling it, And it's like, okay, so I get what you're doing, but like, does this make sense? I mean, you died from, you know, I suppose it was, I guess it technically wasn't lightning, it was like electricity beforehand. But I know what they're trying to do, but like, if you died through something similar, then like, why are you pretending like this wouldn't hurt you as well? I get that it's kind of like a fuck you to the failures of last season's finale, but on a logistical level, I don't know if it adds up. I know she came back from death, but what, is she just like magically resistant to this stuff now? I guess she is, I guess? Don't get me wrong, it was really cool, but like you saw, like the lightning was rippling down through the lasso, it was rippling throughout her face and her, and it's badass. I wish they tried to make things make more sense, is all I'm trying to say. If you're still struggling to understand why I have an issue with this like really cool Donna scene, because I see the face value coolness in it, trust me, I do. It's more like, it's like putting Superboy or Superman with like a load of kryptonite, dust, or whatever coming at them, and where it weakened them before, i.e. or e.g. with Donna last season with the electricity, it's like, oh, it's not affecting me now, and this is a cool moment because I'm, you know, not being hurt by all this kryptonite coming at me. As cool as that is, it doesn't make sense. So the same thing here, and if you come at me and say, well, technically, this is lightning, and it's not the same as the pylon's electricity, do you really think that lightning like that wouldn't be as freaking zappy or as harmful? If not, it should be more harmful than the electricity that came off the pylon. And just with the rain waking everyone up, I do give credit to like the creativity of this. You already know my thoughts about the Lazarus thing in general. You can see why, though, and this is the way I would have preferred it. It would have made obviously all of this different because it would have meant that they wouldn't have done it. But the way I would have preferred it is just to keep it to Jason, because you can see why now. There were no adverse effects in this canon, in this iteration of the DC universe through Titans of the Lazarus Pit. Doesn't make you like somewhat corrupted or evil or whatever. You know, and I think that they should have done that because that would have only have lent to Jason's actions earlier this season. It would have given the audience more of a believability in his actions because of, as if you know a little bit about the Lazarus Pit in a traditionalist way, it makes you come back a bit like snarky bad. And now with this, you can see why they didn't do it, because they brought back up to 2,000 people, so they couldn't have up to 2,000 potential cases of like bloodlust or anger issues or just some kind of corruption after coming back from death through the Lazarus Pit. And I think that kind of ruins it a little bit, because the Lazarus Pit should be that way. I'm all about innovation, but I don't know. I feel like you forsook one of the crucial aspects of what means coming back through the pit for the kind of scapegoat of the end of this season, when if you did it the way I'm suggesting, and I'm not saying my way is the best way, I'm just genuinely trying to consult here, that if you would have just kept the Lazarus Pit to Jason, not bring back Nightwing as well, let alone 2,000 plus other people, it would have only have helped his diabolical actions in the first 3 episodes. Now, I have very, very mixed feelings on Bruce Wayne returning to Gotham. I love Ian Glenn's Bruce Wayne. I really do like him. But for him to, oh, of course he comes back right as it's all over. I like it look, I like the shots, I like the music, the beautiful piano, I like how he says take it slower so we can see the Red Hood graffiti being scraped off, but you're telling me he comes back right as it's all over. What happened when Donna saved? Writers, tell me, why didn't you, what happened? I know I'm getting a bit into this now, but this is what pisses me off. It's just, this personifies some of the issues that Titans has. Yeah, Donna just somehow saves him, and he's blah, blah, blah. He's back now. What happened? Well, why didn't Donna tell Dick? Like, hey like, I thought, by the way, like you would have to have included a line when Donna rendezvous with Dick ever since, you know, not seeing her when she died. She would have filled him in that, by the way, Bruce tried to kill himself? Nothing! There's nothing! What was that? Like, why? Why do you do that? If anyone is watching this in the creative writing room or whatever, look, maybe I'm being a bit exaggerative right now, I get that, but you must see where I'm coming from. Like, on a real note right now, you must see why that wasn't executed well, and the disconnects that took place in between, and then just picking up with him coming back, not to mention when Dick Grayson came back from the Lazarus Pit last episode, hey, yeah, take the Titans to Donna. How did Dick know that Donna was alive? Like, because he didn't. It's things like this that keep happening. And by the way, why am I so into this right now? Because I'm passionate about this show, and it F's me off when I see things like this happen. Like, don't take this as, oh, Boba, you're now a Titan. No, I'm far from it. I really want this show to do well. I really like it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not at a level of this show where I view it like The Flash, because The Flash, my God, is not what it used to be. And I'm more or less next to through that show. I'm nowhere near at the level with this. The Titans has so much potential. It's just what I'm just been bitching about the past couple of minutes is what makes me so passionate, because I think it can do so much better. And I just don't understand when you're in like a room full of writers, and I know they had the pandemic, and I know like that led to not being in the same room in the writers. It's just, how do you not comprehend the issues that crop up like this? Like Bruce just now appearing, like nobody knowing that he tried to commit suicide, nobody understanding what happened to him after that moment. Like Donna didn't tell anyone. It was just such a random thing now to have happened in that castle scene. I mean, I get maybe why he did it, obviously, but sorry, I'm just losing brain cells now. I thought the scene with Dick was decent, you know. It's like, it's not exactly the welcome home I had planned for you, seeing Wayne Manor destroyed, seeing his picture of him and his parents, the painting torn up. Oh, hey Bruce, by the way, around potentially 25 to 47 cops know your identity in the Batcave now, so yeah, good luck with being the Batman in Gotham and protecting it, you know. Yeah, whatever. By the way, another thing. This is what I was bitching about. That's not going to be addressed. It's just not going to be. That's the thing. Like, he's probably going to continue being Batman, and we're just going to have to forget that a lot of GCPD officers know everything about him. Why? Bruce says, you did what I asked you to do. You saved Gotham City. That's when Dick said he had helped the Titans. But also he says, you know, you succeeded where I failed. You know, and he says, I failed too, Bruce. But I got a second chance. Yeah, you did. Everyone freaking came back through the Lazarus pit. I just really don't like that. I really don't like that. In this moment, Jason arrived. I'm very glad that we managed to get a scene here. It does, you know, you could see potential for this character. And by the way, in my roster, it made me think, oh shit, I forgot to mention Jason, who's not going to be in the show, potentially, because there definitely has been talks of, a spin-off show. Whether it will happen or not, we really don't know for sure. Like, I don't know for sure. I couldn't guarantee it to you, but there is potential for that. You can probably tell the low-key setup with this discussion that happened as well, with, you know, how what's next for him in life. He doesn't know, but this is like the Red Hood and the Outlaws, like, Jason trying to redeem himself from the basically irredeemable actions he's done, like blowing up people in the bank on behalf of that woman who blew up those people and killing Hank. You know, that's diabolical stuff, but I like that, you know, his arc from here could be really interesting, because he's done stuff that could arguably never be redeemable. But as Bruce says, when Jason says, I did things I can't come back from, and Bruce says, but you want to come back. So that could be really cool, seeing him continue. And Bruce also forgives Jason in this scene, because he admits they all crossed lines. One thing I found very compelling, and I have to think this is deliberate, at least I think it is, and that when Jason asked, when you killed the Joker, did you do that for me? He didn't look him in the eyes when he answered, yes, I did. And then Jason says, thank you. He goes like this, like he looks away. And as you know, psychologically, that's like an indication of a lie, as all of us like to be psychologists, you know, whatever. But he does. He looks away and he's like, yes, I did. And then he looks back. He doesn't look him in the eye when he says it. And that makes me think it's a half-truth. I don't say it's an outright lie, because I think it is a half-truth. He did go there and probably did it half for Jason, but half of it was definitely Bruce's rage, and something that's been coming a long time for the Joker. I just thought it was a nice detail to have in Glenn's Bruce look away when Jason asked him, like, when you killed the Joker, did you do that for me? And, you know, that's what he wanted to hear. This is kind of like the Under the Red Hood story that this is deviated from, but, like, the reason why Jason was annoyed in that first story, in the Under the Red Hood, it's like, you didn't even avenge me. Well, in this one, he did, but I question the answer that Ian Glenn gave there. I feel like it wasn't 100% accurate to what Jason was thinking that he was hearing when he said thank you. Which is around this time, the science guy announces that he has blueprints for a new not Starfire, but Blackfire ship, because Superboy's memory is basically photographic and he knows how to make a new one, which, you know, I kind of do half believe. And, you know, he admits that he has no rights to stop Blackfire if she wants to go back. And, you know, she basically is ready to go back to Tamaran, and Superboy is willing to accept that. And that's more or less, I think, it. You know, when they just kissed each other at the airport and stuff, that's the resolution to their somewhat story. And then with Wonder Girl, Donna Troy, with V at the precinct, obviously a little bit of a setup for her character. I mean, you could say it's set up, but that would only be technically true if she had a spin-off show. So I think this is really just an excuse for next season when she might not be in it, where Brenton Thwaites' Dick Grayson says, oh no, you know, Donna is you know, after Paris with Dawn, she went to go hunt down some people with Argus, something like that. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I feel like with her line of saying, remember when you and Starfire brought down Shimmer, we could always use more of those closed files. You can tell that's where the canon's going to be with her character when she might not be in the show next season. And then Dick and Babs, it was kind of like it was what it was. It was a rekindled romance. And in this moment, it's like they do love each other. Barbara definitely loves Dick, I feel. Savannah Welsh has even said that as well. But it's kind of the thing that their destinies, I think, are fated, if you believe in that, to be apart. Barbara's got to stay as commissioner. Dick's got his own legacy, well, not legacy, but destiny to continue with the Titans, and that brings him away from Gotham. It's kind of like a fork in the road, you know, and it's like a bittersweet experience. Those two and their storyline has been one of the more pleasant, understandable ones, I feel, just, you know, like riding throughout. Not too much leaned on it, not too much was away from it. It was just smooth sailing. I'm really going to miss Savannah Welsh, though, because I'm guessing that she won't be in the next season, like, literally speaking, like, they're not going to be in Gotham, I'm guessing, like, that's kind of been established, so yeah, like, as I said, I'll touch probably more on this in, like, an overview video. We get that little farewell between Donna and Dick, kind of, you know, talking about going back to San Francisco, how she's headed back to Paris, well, going to Paris to tell Dawn that little message from Hank, and then doing some solo Wonder Girl shit, basically. And then, I found it funny when she was like, congrats, by the way, for finding Nightwing. And then he was just like, all I have to do to find him was die. And I was just like, no, really, it just seems that you lost him, because you went in there with the Nightwing suit on, and you came out without it, so how did you find Nightwing? If anything, you lost him. Obviously, it's a joke, but yet again, another thing. I do love how Dick brought an RV there, so they're going to go on a 44-hour road trip, much to Starfire's disgust. But I love how Gar is really in for a road trip. Amongst all of these farewells, in a way, we had Blackfire also figuring out a way with the science guy to make a breathable device for Connor to visit Tamaran one day. So yeah, I'm guessing Blackfire might not be in the show next season, because it really does seem that she is going to go back. So really, it's crazy. So Red Hood possibly gone now, unless he gets a spin-off show, because he's not going to come back to the Titans next season. Unless they find some way of writing that in, that probably would seem artificial. So it does seem that he is gone for now. Like, unless he gets his own spin-off show. So Red Hood gone. Barbara Gordon gone. Blackfire gone. Donna Troy gone. Hank gone. Dawn gone. So it really does feel like season 4 is gonna shake things up a bit in terms of like truly new cast members, because I'm sure that's where people are gonna be like, I hope they don't cast too many people, blah blah blah, too many storylines. I get what you're saying. I'm just saying, I just want to point out, think who probably isn't coming back, and what that leaves an opportunity for season 4 to do. Like, there is space. There is literal space now. Not only because they're moving away from Gotham, so that leaves characters like Barbara behind, but characters have died, like Hank. Dawn has gone for understandable reasons. Wonder Girl is, maybe she just doesn't want to be a part of the show anymore, so that's why she's doing a Wonder Girl solo stuff, in story reasons, and you get what I'm trying to say. So they have a new roster in a way, with core characters still left, like Raven, Dick, probably Beast Boy and stuff. But yeah, there's clearly space, you know, with what they have yet to play with. And I wonder if that could mean Roy Harper, but I don't know what they're really doing with that, because they've been teasing that forever. One more stop along the way, as Dick says, though, and that is to go to Crane in Arkham. This was a bit cruel, but I guess he kind of deserved it in a way. I say cruel just because, like, this is actually really messed up in a way. Like, the Titans are like, yeah, as they're walking out, but they literally, I think through what Raven extracted earlier from the waters with what she said, these are the nightmares of, like, every single person who's come back from here. All of those nightmares, she pukes it out into Crane. And it's ironic at the same time because Crane, a man who has put fear onto people, is literally suffering from the nightmares of other people's fears who have bathed in the Lazarus pit. But that is basically it, you know, Crane screaming in fear for all of the rest of his life, which is fitting, I suppose, for his character. And that is it. That is Titans Season 3 all wrapped up. So all in all, by this point of the video, you could probably gauge my feelings on the finale. I still really like this show. I just feel like, you know, it's just a shame that Season 3 dipped off a little bit towards the end. You can see that they did still put great efforts into their attempts at, you know, giving us a good ending to the season. I just don't agree with the execution of things that I've mentioned, like just ideas and concepts in general, like the Lazarus Pit, or just ideas in general, like with the Batcave being completely exposed. It's these things that do matter more than what I think when they're writing it out. Okay, we're gonna have GCPD officers, you know, defend Crane. Okay, that makes sense. But it's like they're not thinking outside that to see what that would mean for the fans, learning that everyone on the police force knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman. It's things like that of which provide bigger issues for me. I'm almost a bit speechless at this point. I don't really know how to wrap it up because I feel like Titans overall started off so strong. This is mainly to be saved for my overview video. It definitely dipped along the way. I don't think they executed certain character arcs in the best ways. For example, as I've mentioned with Jason, the way he just went back to Crane, it felt like this is another big thing that people are mentioning. The episodes are a bit shorter in some episodes. It does feel like there are certain scenes missing from the episodes I've complained about and critiqued, where it would have made it a lot more organic. In those moments I was critiquing, like I've kept saying, this felt artificial, that felt artificial, where was this? Why wasn't that happening? Why is he just walking back into the garage with Crane in the next episode? I know we give them answers, but it's not up to the audience to always provide that for the writers. That's their job, do you know what I mean? So I am happy with Titans Season 3 in a way, but I'm also quite underwhelmed in another way, just, you know, being very candid here. I still like this show. I think the casting is amazing. I think they have so much set up for the next season, which makes me low-key excited. I say low-key because I think you can understand why. Titans is a show that can pull off some banger episodes. It can pull off some banger moments, some intimate scenes, some great service from that of the source material brought to screen. I can go on about that, the things that make me fall in love with the show. It's just, it always seems to like trip itself up along the way. And sometimes I feel like what's most disappointing to me is the oversight. It's like how they don't identify sometimes the most obvious wounds. I think that's what gets me, and I don't need to go into what those wounds are because they do speak for themselves. You know, within the episodes of Season 3. But other than that, guys, I'm going to leave this down to you now. What did you think of the Season 3 finale? What did you think of everything I discussed? You know, the bigger things as well, or the teasers, like Roy Harper, potential setup, Argus, what does that mean? Tim Drake going into the next season, what do you think all that means? What do you think going back to San Francisco means? Who do you think could be the next big villain? Could it be the Church of Blood? Because there was a teaser for that in episode 1 or 2 of Season 3. I don't know. But anyway, guys, like this video if you did enjoy it. Please subscribe because obviously I'm still doing videos. I'm still going to do videos on Titans Season 4. I'm still a fan. But yeah, as always, links in the top pinned comment if you want to follow me a bit more on Twitter, Discord server. Talk about Titans with me there if you want to. It's always in the top pinned comment. But thank you so much for watching. Hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. And I'll see you fellow Titans in my next Titans video, which will be a massive retrospective on Season 3 in general. So, goodbye, guys.